Number 10. A350H airliner. Alright, we've seen some pretty futuristic designs already. The next concept plane on this list really takes the cake, looking like it was plucked from an old arcade game and dropped right into our laps. The A350H airliner looks a little too much like a dolphin, but also has the potential to be the future of flying. And I'm not just saying that, because unlike so many other aircraft, both those in existence and those still in the concept phase, the A350H airliner doesn't need a runway to take off. Nope, this baby is taking off and landing completely vertically. Meaning the days of sitting on the tarmac for hours on end with no relief in sight are over. And wouldn't be an airplane of the future if it relied on fuel either. But instead of running on batteries, the A350H airliner will be powered by cryogenic hydrogen it keeps stored in its high-pressure tanks. This concept plane is sounding more and more sci-fi by the minute, but perhaps science fiction is also what implants these types of forward-thinking and eco-friendly ideas in our minds in the first place, and really gives us an ideal to strive for. And if this plane really does manage to take off, then we'll all be in for one wild ride. Number 9. Seastall VLJ. While companies like Boeing, Airbus, and Lufthansa manage to keep the designs of their concept planes within the realms of what seems realistic, people like Thomas Brodersgift have taken their designs to the next level and maybe even a few steps beyond that. He's managed to create a concept plane known as the Seastall VLJ, which looks like an old computer mouse with wings. And although it may look a bit silly, it's even more awesome. Short for short takeoff and landing, very light jet, the Seastall is a lot more than just an airplane. It's a seaplane, meaning this thing can take you just about anywhere. And while you won't be seeing one of these making a cross-continental flight, the Seastall VLJ can make for the very perfect private jetliner for the rich and famous, looking to just get away from it all and enjoy the seascape. The cabin's small, only able to accommodate up to 8 passengers plus the pilot, but it's the 2 skiffs underneath that really make it stand out. When it comes to something like the Seastall VLJ, there's more than meets the eye, and just because it's a seaplane doesn't mean it can take off or land on the nearest runway, meaning this plane of the future excels at land, sea, and air. Number 8. Synergy aircraft. When you have good synergy with another person, you can just tell, and the same could apply to concept planes, which is why the Synergy aircraft is going to be your favorite entry on this list. The incredibly unique Synergy aircraft is designed by John McGinnis, and it's said to use just 10% the fuel of a regular jet plane of the same size. That's not much fuel at all. But despite the design and futuristic promises, this concept plane isn't an electric aircraft and won't fly nearly as fast as your average passenger aircraft. But flying at about 40 miles an hour with space for just 5 in its cabin, it's more of a personal craft, meaning you can fly this between vacation homes with some friends. But isn't something like this going to be loud, especially when you're sitting so close to the engine? Well, not here. The Synergy aircraft is designed to be incredibly quiet, meaning the folks inside can have a conversation at normal levels because the craft uses a smaller rear propulsion system, laminar flow aerodynamics, and lower prop tip speeds. But what really stands out here is the tail design, which uses a patented double box tail configuration. The only real question here is who is brave enough to step inside one of these small but mighty planes. Number 7. Monster Jumbo. We've all been inside a jumbo jet, but one designer has managed to take that concept and turn things up to 11. This concept plane is lovingly referred to as the Monster Jumbo and was created by Phil Pauly, an award-winning software company known for its eccentric and sometimes quirky digital solutions. So it should make sense that their next big thing really is, well, big. Their Monster Jumbo is a dual-winged commercial airliner designed with not 1, not 2, but 4 decks to shove in as many passengers as humanly, or maybe even inhumanly, as possible. Jumbo jets are only getting larger, but the Monster Jumbo really is something else, and it'll be tough to compete with it because it's designed to accommodate 1,500 people at a time and capable of flying halfway around the world without the need to refuel. And if this thing eventually makes it to production, it's gonna be the largest airplane in the world by a long shot. The thought of sharing an airplane with that many people may sound daunting, but what it really comes down to is its fuel efficiency. If airliners can get this many people on one flight, then that means fewer flights throughout the day, which means less air traffic, fewer chances of collisions and mishaps, and fewer nasty fuel emissions. Number 6. Progress Eagle. When you see the concept plane that is the Progress Eagle for the first time, it's tough not to ask something like, what exactly is going on here? It certainly is a unique design, but trust that there is method to this madness. The futuristic plane is designed by Oscar Vinals in the hopes that this will mark the future of jetliners. For starters, it's capable of carrying up to 800 passengers at a time over its 3 decks, which is about twice the passenger capacity of your average yet popular Boeing 747. And because the future will be emissions-free, the Progress Eagle looks to live up to its name by being eco-friendly with its 6 hydrogen fuel engines, the rear electric wind generators, and even solar panels. This thing is built like it's ready to go, managing to rely on every outlet imaginable to get from point A to point B without hurting our Mother Earth. Vinals has said that he plans to craft the Progress Eagle using materials like titanium, aluminum, graphene, carbon fiber, ceramics, and finally a memory-shape alloy, making this not only an incredibly light aircraft, but unlike anything we've ever seen before. Number 5. Spruce Whale. So far, we've seen concept planes that take their design inspirations from existing aircraft, sci-fi spaceships, and even a dolphin. But there's one more member of the aquatic kingdom that dwarfs these designs in comparison. The Spruce Whale is an insane concept plane that looks to replicate the size, scale, and look of a whale, and slap some wings on it too. This concept comes from the mind of Randy Alendra and certainly offers a unique glimpse into the future of aviation. Alendra has said that their design is so futuristic that the necessary materials to create such a whale of a plane don't even exist yet, and the technology it takes to fly likely won't be a reality for another century. So even if the Spruce Whale does come to fruition, Alendra won't be alive to see it. So how does something like this move about? Well, the Spruce Whale, which looks like a half dirigible, half starcraft, will forego the typical fuselage for a mechanism that utilizes helium to keep it afloat and propelling forward. And even more outlandish is the fact that it will be using its rear-mounted energy converter module to harvest the wind's power, meaning the higher and further it flies, the more output it will produce. Again, if the Spruce Whale is ever created, it will be long after we're gone. Number 4. AS-2 Supersonic Private Jet. Who out there remembers the Concorde, the supersonic jet that ripped through the skies and brought passengers from New York City to London in less than 3 hours? While the Concorde may have been retired in 2003, there are people who are trying to bring it back, only better. Known as the AS-2 or the Son of Concorde, this concept plane is a supersonic private jet that will let you start your day with a bagel in New York and then grab some lunch in London all on the same day. While there have been supersonic commercial planes, the AS-2 is looking to be the first ever of its kind within the private sector. This concept is part of a joint project between Airbus and Ariane Corp. While it may sound a little too good to be true, they've allegedly already secured their first customer back in 2015. When it goes into production, the AS-2 will cost $120 million to make, and so far 20 have already been ordered, which is kind of wild. But don't expect to be sitting on a cramped flight on board this thing because the supersonic jet can only carry up to 12 passengers at a time, but has no issues reaching a top speed of Mach 1.5 without even breaking a sweat. But don't expect to see this on the market until at least 2023. Number 3. The Boom. So here comes the Boom. With the help of Virgin Atlantic, a small Colorado-based startup is looking to create its own supersonic commercial aircraft they like to call the Boom. This concept blows the original Concorde out of the water, shaving off about 30 minutes from the original's transatlantic trip, and will get you around the world in just under 5 hours as it travels at a top speed of Mach 2.2. But how much is something like that going to cost? Well, a one-way ticket is going to run you about $5,000. Making it accessible to the upper echelon of business society. And the Boom airplane itself is already at a $2 billion price tag to build. And that's if they even decide to go through with it. But if they do, the prospect of putting everyday people back into the cabin of a supersonic commercial airliner is gonna be epic. Number 2. Airbus A321 XLR. When it comes to making top-of-the-line airplanes, the folks at Airbus really know what they're doing. They introduced their A321 XLR back in 2019 at the Paris Air Show, boasting that it can take to the skies with a range of 5,500 miles, blowing their predecessors out of the water by a long shot. They're able to do this because the concept offers a third fuel tank, which also allows the XLR to travel up to 10 hours without needing to stop and refuel, and still cutting their fuel burn per seat by about 30%. Not bad. The A321XLR concept is going to be the perfect addition for commercial airliners who are looking to cut costs but raise efficiency. The only real catch for passengers, though, is that this concept is a narrow-body plane, so ideally these seats are going to have to be wider and offer a little more legroom, especially if they can cover even longer distances. Number 1. Spaceliner. Space is the place. Companies have been claiming to one day offer commercial flights to space for what feels like forever, and even billionaires seem to be entering the space race as well. But one German company is looking to make space travel a bit more realistic. And while you won't be zooming up to the moon for a vacation, you can certainly expect to get from London to Melbourne in about 90 minutes, or Paris to San Francisco in less than an hour, while traveling at 25 times the speed of sound. It's an incredibly ambitious concept that will put passengers through time and space at Mach 5, or 5 times the speed of sound. The folks at the Space Launcher Systems Analysis, or SART, have been putting in the hours of their spaceliner for nearly 2 decades now, with the goal of creating a hypersonic craft that can carry up to 50 passengers at a time, up into space and then around the globe at breakneck speeds. It certainly sounds like an amazing idea, and with more and more people heading to the stars, it does at times feel like it can soon be a reality. The Spaceliner concept calls for 11 rockets to propel the vessel into orbit, 9 of which are for the vertical booster stage, and just 2 for the passenger stage as it circles the Earth. And once those 9 boosters kick in, the passenger craft breaks from the booster rockets and flies totally autonomously, meaning you won't be seeing an influx of pilots entering NASA's space program anytime soon. In all, the Spaceliner will reach an altitude of about 50 miles high. And what goes up must also come down, so the craft quickly goes into a gliding descent towards its destination. And you can bet that something as futuristic as this isn't going to be as environmentally friendly as it can be. And the smart folks over at SART are working to make their Spaceliner run on liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen propellants, meaning the only emissions it will leave in its wake is water vapor.